This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we get an update on the Xbox version of Black Myth Wukong. The release date for Horizon LEGO Adventures may have leaked. PlayStation 5 Pro is still releasing this year, according to a well-known insider. And we get some very positive details about Metal Gear Delta Snake Eater. All of these stories can be found here and a lot more in episode 222 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. Welcome. Come on in, kick off your shoes and relax, because we're going to have a very, very good conversation today. Now, as always, before we officially get started into the episode, if you would like to be a part of listener feedback, you can do that by simply emailing the show. And the email address is the name of the show. It is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for. And that is no doubt the gaming news that went down. Now, of course, you guys know that I missed Sunday, so pardon me for that, but quite a bit has happened. And I have to say, things have started out very, very interesting. I actually got a little bit more information on why Towerborn, you guys know that game, the Xbox game, that's actually going to be premiering on Steam before it actually premieres on Xbox. Well, I actually got this information, if I am not mistaken, from Gamertag Radio, where they had actually talked to the developer, and the developer said that this is what they wanted. They told Xbox, or Microsoft that is, that they wanted to go on Steam first because that way they could really get a better gauge of the engagement and things that they needed to do better. And they kind of said that PC is more receptive of games being pretty much in beta. But this is the thing that really threw me for a loop, and actually looked this up for myself. Now, people that are actually getting the game Towerborn on Steam, it is not free. You're going to have to pay $24.99 for the Founders Pack Silver. Now, if you want to go a little higher than Silver, you actually have to pay $44.99 for the Founders Pack that is Gold. So, this is very interesting. It seemed like it was a bad deal for Xbox fans, but at least, and I mean, it doesn't really make up for it. It should have been on the platform first. And we know that the platform is starting to have more and more problems when it comes to getting games to premiere on their platform or stay exclusive to their platform. So even though it's not premiering there, at least you won't have to pay for it, when it actually comes to Xbox. So again, for the Steam version, $24.99 for that Founders Pack on Silver, and $45. That is kind of crazy. That is kind of wild that this is exactly what they are doing. So more interestingly, I'll be curious to know how many Steam users actually support this. We'll definitely keep our eyes and ears on this story as it unfolds, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this game is going to be available in September, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for Steam. But anyway, let's move on into the next story, though. Now, this next story, it goes along with the theme of Xbox not having games premiering on their console. Some of you guys might not have known this, but yesterday, during the Nintendo Direct, Nintendo had a heck of a show from what I understand. I didn't sit there and watch the whole thing, but from what I understand, they had a couple of premieres there. And one of the premieres, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. I'm going to play it so that we can go through it together. But it is the Capcom Fighting Collection 2. So let's go ahead and let's roll that bean footage of the trailer. Here we go. Now I'm going to actually narrate over this because this is a whole different set of games that's coming to the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation. Okay, celebrate an era of iconic Capcom games. Capcom Fighting Collection. 8 beloved games are in this pack. So we got, darn, that's hard. You got Capcom versus SNK Pro. That's going to be in this. Capcom versus SNK 2. Man, that looks cool. Power Stone. God darn it. And Power Stone 2 are in this pack. Darn. Project Justice. Sheesh, I don't even know what that is. Street Fighter Alpha. Man, there's an Alpha that's the death. Capcom Fighting Evolution is also in this pack. And Plasma Sword. I don't even know what the heck Plasma Sword is. Look like some Battle Arena Toshinden type stuff. Now you got the art gallery that's going to be available in here. Documents, design documents, marquee cards, all kind of stuff. So the thing about this is, I'm going to cut this trailer short. The thing about this is that got a lot of people upset a little bit more yet again at the Xbox brand. And I know you guys know exactly where I'm going with this. The game again will not be available on the Xbox platform.
Move this man!
This is becoming a habit, a real habit. We can see it happening. It's unfolding. I think we got some information. I forgot who his name is. Golly, he's an Xbox fan. He works over there at Windows Central. Jez Corden. If I'm not mistaken, I believe, and if I am wrong, Jez, pardon me, brother, I mistaken it. But I thought that Jez had said something about Microsoft or Xbox working with Capcom to come to a conclusion on how to get these games over on the platform. But yet again, here we are with another game actually skipping the Xbox brand. Now, I'm not saying hit the red button and go into panic mode. Of course, we heard it was something to do with the wiring or the wireframes or some kind of situation that those games actually have that the Xbox is not capable of doing. Hold on. Matter of fact, like I say, Google is our friend. Let me see if I can word this to see if I can get an actual understanding of what happened here. Why isn't the Capcom collection coming to Xbox? All right, it says new Capcom again not releasing fighting game collection on Xbox. It says it seems they don't have a build for Xbox One anymore. That's why they can't do an Xbox port. They probably will access the cost. Hold on, let me make this bigger. Now I want to let you guys know I'm getting this information off of Reddit. So it could be 100% right, or it could be 100% wrong, or it might be 50-50. So it says that, let's see, it says, hold on. Okay, Capcom again not releasing. Let us handle this. Now the information actually left. So, I don't know, but it seems like, again, they don't have the Xbox port anymore, or the Xbox One, build for the game anymore, which is why they can't port it. So that's a little rough, man. Now, whether or not that is 100% true or not, we don't know. But one thing is for sure that we do know is the game is skipping yet again Xbox again. And this is it is just becoming, I'm not going to say frustrating, because I don't have an Xbox Series X. I'm good. I got a PlayStation 4. It'll be backwards compatible on the PlayStation 5. I'll be fine. I'm not going to be out here fake outraging like, oh man, this is terrible. But I will say this, for somebody that has paid $300 or $500 for a console that was under the impression that third-party games would be coming day and date to that console, I would say, man, you guys got a raw deal raw deal. And Xbox should be trying to make up for that in some kind of way to a certain capacity to let you guys know that you are appreciated. But yet again, that is why I jumped off of the Xbox bandwagon late last generation. I told you guys, soon as this generation started, some of you guys asked me, which console would I be getting first, Xbox or PlayStation? I said I'm getting the PlayStation 5 first because I feel like Xbox treats me like a second-class citizen, third class, fourth class, whatever may have you. I didn't like the moves that they had been making, and unfortunately, those moves continue to take place today. So, again, for people that have paid the $300 to $500, I feel for you. It's some guys out there, and this is the thing. This is the very interesting thing about this. You guys remember last week when the announcement happened with Indiana Jones, a lot of Xbox fans, at least on Twitter, social media, let's just keep this thing in perspective. I'm not talking about people walking the street every day, people at work, every day, just everyday people. No, I'm talking about the hardcore fan base that is on social media that lets their thoughts be heard online. Those individuals, they were really, really upset last week, understandably so. I was feeling bad for y'all because I'm like, God, dog, what a just a slap in the face. Darn, daring you to go somewhere, telling you ain't going nowhere. You're going to stand right here and you're going to take this and you're going to understand that this is just what's happening. This is the temperature right now. I dare y'all to leave. And it seemed like last week, people were giving Phil Spencer a hard time. They were upset. They were mad. I was like, man, finally, these guys are mad and, upset and maybe something is going to happen. Now you turn around this week and all of a sudden some guys are falling right back in line yet again, which is why I made that title last week of the podcast what I made it. Xbox fans have not done the Xbox brand any justice. Those are not Xbox fans, not hardcore day one Xbox fans. It is no way a true Xbox fan could ever be okay with the state that Xbox is in right now. It is no way. And that's why, again, I say you guys are to blame, because if you buck back a lot earlier than where we are today, I don't think we would necessarily be in this position. But then again, looking at this from a different perspective, and this is where I got to call out certain, not all, certain Xbox fans. There was really a lack of support for a lot of games last generation going into this generation. They read a stat. I don't know who it was, so I'm not going to name names because I don't want to put that jacket on somebody and I would be wrong, with the wrong information. But I do know for sure somebody read off a stat when it came to Hi-Fi Rush, a game that was beloved by the Xbox community, even won 2 awards. I'm about to say Grammy nominated. God doggone. Video game awards nominated and winner. Hi-Fi Rush. And when somebody read the stats off, they said about, God dog, what was it? 14% or 10% of the fan base made it to level 2. Level 2 or 3. It was some outrageous small amount of people that even made it to like the second or third level. So it's things like that, even with me, a person that loved Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Of course, I didn't beat Ori and the Will of the Wisp, but the Blind Forest, I was getting trophies. Darn, I've been playing PlayStation too long. I was getting achievements. I was getting rare achievements. I was talking about this years ago, and I'm not that great of a gamer. I absolutely love this hobby. but I'm not the best at it. I'm not the greatest at it. I told y'all I play games on easy because I want to experience the game for the story and I want to have fun. I don't want to have to beat my head up against the wall over and over and over again because I'm not winning. No, I did that too much in the 80s and in the early to mid 90s. I'm ready to move on and just enjoy the game. But even a person of my skill set was able to get doggone achievements that were like those special achievements, the ones where it's like only 10% of the people actually got it. And I'm like, whoa, all I did was beat a level. I didn't do anything too special. I just beat a level. And you gave me a special achievement. I'm like, man, something is wrong. So I have to ask the question, are Xbox gamers really gaming out here? Or are y'all just capping, acting like y'all are gaming? Because to me, if y'all were out here gaming like that, I don't think we would be getting these kind of stats all the time. All the time. It's like y'all play a game for 15 minutes and that's it. Now, again, let me make myself clear before y'all uppercut me and right cross me in my jaw. You know, I want to make it clear. I'm not talking about all Xbox fans. I know it's not all, but there is definitely a set of so-called Xbox fans that act like they out here gaming, but they really ain't doing that. They doing more stuff on Twitter and social media than they are picking up the sticks. So, you know, that's all I'm saying. I just wonder if the sales were there, if the support financially was there, would Xbox had to come up with Game Pass? Would that have been a situation? I mean, you can kind of weigh it two different ways. If you're not getting the support that you need, you got to pivot. And when you pivot, you come up with Game Pass. But now that you got Game Pass, now it's a possibility that the games are going to be compromised because you can't get that $70 price tag. And people that have played the game, Senua's Saga, said that it was worse than the original Hellblade, the first one. The quality dropped, maybe not visually, but gameplay-wise, story-wise, not all of the above, but a lot of things that was a setback. And some people could say that that is a result of Game Pass, but I don't know. I'm just curious to know, are Xbox gamers really out here gaming? And are they to blame? Like I said last week, I really feel like it was Xbox gamers were to blame for where Xbox is today. But at the same time, yeah, that's all around. Not saying anything when things were going sideways and not going out there and showing support. Because if you're playing games, again, you shouldn't be, or a person like me at my skill level, my skill set in gaming, I shouldn't be getting these doggone rare achievements for beating a level 4 or level 5, and 10 or 12% of players actually reach that level if people are really gaming on the Xbox platform. Anyway, I have spent more than enough time on this. I'm going to move on, guys, into the next story. So I actually got this story from WCCF Tech, and you guys know how I do. Whenever I miss a day, I always, for some reason, I end up staying longer than I planned, but it's because I truly, truly appreciate you guys for being here. But let's go ahead and let's get started, but let's continue on and let's get into some PlayStation 5 Pro news, or rather, I should say rumors.
Rumor has it is something that only I know.
So according to gaming insider Jeff Grubb, man, that's my man. I don't know Jeff Grubb for real, but this joker right here, I trust him. But this is coming from Jeff Grubb during the latest Game Mess, it's Game, G-A-M-E, Mess, M-E-S-S, morning's episode. Now, Jeff said that he heard the console is still releasing this year, the PlayStation 5 Pro, that is. Said it's still releasing this year, and also heard that there is a possible state of play presentation happening by the end of September. September. That would be interesting. Now, he's not sure. This is the thing now, when it comes to that state of play presentation, he's not sure if the PlayStation 5 Pro will be at that event, but it is a good chance that it could be there. Also, just to rewind back to Gamescom 2024. Now, this was something that was interesting as well, and it does kind of go in line with this PlayStation 5 Pro talk. Now, it was also reported that a smaller, less known developer told people in the media, I'm going to say allegedly, they received the PlayStation 5 Pro specs and were confident Unreal Engine 5 would run much better on the hardware, so much so they delayed their game. So that was the talk. People out there at Gamescom, it was different articles out there. Like I said, I got this from WCCF Tech. They weren't the only one that reported on this. They said that it was the biggest open secret at Gamescom that the PlayStation 5 Pro really does exist. Now, of course, we got to wait on Sony, see what they do, see what happens when it comes to them actually making the official announcement. Of course, Tokyo Game Show is coming up next month. They're going to be there. Jeff Grubb, again, this guy, I'm not saying he gets it 100% correct. No, he doesn't. But this guy has a pretty solid track record. Out of all of the leakers, the alleged so-called leakers out there, I trust Jeff Grubb probably the most. Outside of, it's one or two more that I actually trust, and I can't think of their names right now for the sake of time. I'm not going to try to remember them. But Jeff Grubb, again, I know he doesn't get it right all the time, but this dude talked about when I became a fan of Jeff Grubb, when I said, oh, this guy might know what he's talking about, was when he said the Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be at whatever E3 that was, the Guardians of the Galaxy released. And I said, ain't no darn way that game is coming out, because this is when Marvel's Avengers had come out to abysmal reviews. So I said, it's no doggone way that they're going to make a lesser known game, as far as, well, not lesser known game, but a lesser known roster of characters for a game. I understand the Guardians of the Galaxy movie and all that, but I'm like, man, this sounds like a far-fetched shot in the dark. And when it happened and it was actually there, I said, oh, shucks, I'm sold. And since then, Jeff has made quite a few other discoveries and actually has said a few other things that have also come true. So when it comes to Jeff Grubb, again, it's not 100%, but I trust, what he says. And I feel like it's always a pretty good chance that it'll actually come true, but we shall see. But let's go on, guys, and let's move on. Man, hold on. I can't just speed past that fast. I'm just saying the PlayStation 5 Pro, man, that could be something. It really could be. The specs that we've been hearing about, with the PlayStation 5 Pro, sounds very, very impressive. I believe that Black Myth Wukong, man, that joker right there, man, I'm sure it could definitely use a PlayStation 5 Pro boost because of the things that are happening with that game on console. But we're going to get to that in just a little bit. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's move on into the next story. That Unreal Engine 5 is kicking this current generation's hardware tail up and down the street. But let's go ahead and let's get into this next story that I actually got from Push Square. So Metal Gear Delta Snake Eater got a demo for some of the media to check out, and it seems to be getting very positive feedback. And again, just like I mentioned, oh man, Unreal Engine 5 has this remake looking beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, this game looks so doggone good. But we also got some great news from Arthur Corey Brotherson, who said you'll be able to play Delta on PlayStation 5, quote, with a release date to be revealed later this year, end of quote. So what I am guessing I don't think the game, now I think the PlayStation did say that the game was going to release sometime this year. I don't think that's going to happen. Here it is. We got 4 months left because it's pretty much September. So you got September, October, November, December. I don't think this game is going to make it. So I think that it's a good possibility. If it doesn't happen at TGS, Tokyo Game Show is definitely a possibility. Konami, we know where they are regionally, so it would make sense for them to make that announcement at TGS. But if it doesn't happen there, I have a feeling that it'll probably happen at Jeff Keighley's show. So I don't think it's going to happen this year as far as the release, but at least we do know that we're going to get a release date for the game later on this year. Now, it's another piece of news that was also I would say this is pretty positive news because we actually got during a preview of the game, Konami brought up what to expect as far as the performance goes for both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, which it was revealed to be 2 different gameplay modes. One mode will be 1080p, 60 frames per second, and the other will be 4K, 30 frames per second. Now, as far as Series S is concerned, there haven't been any specs revealed for that version. So when this game comes out, I know that's a little bit of a letdown. It's good news because it is 60 frames per second. The downside is it's going to be 1080p. But again, I told y'all, I'm not telling y'all anything. The games are showing it. That Unreal Engine 5 is a beast. That thing is a monster for these consoles to actually handle. So when you talk about, God dog, 1080p, 60 frames per second, and not even 1440p, 60 frames per second, it is a rough time at the office. So if you want that 4K resolution, you are going to have to bump it down to 30 frames per second. Now, of course, if you're on PC, have at it and enjoy yourself. You'll probably be able to run it at 100 frames per second. I don't know. But if you're a console guy like me, that 30 frames, man, I told y'all, a couple of weeks ago that I haven't turned into a 60 frames per second snob, as it were. I'm going to tell you something, brothers. God dog it. Man, after playing that Days Gone, after playing Ratchet and Clank, after playing Stellar Blade, even though it was the demo, haven't picked up Stellar Blade yet. I will be getting Outlaws this weekend though. That 60 frames. Woo-wee! That 60 frames is smooth. I don't know. I think I will probably be playing this game at 1080p, 60 frames. I mean, it depends. I've been playing at 30 for so long. When I got a taste of that 60, god dog, brother, it was like tasting soda for the first time almost. I'm like, wow. And that was the interesting thing. It didn't really happen overnight. I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. 60 frames. This is all right. This is cool. This ain't that big of a difference. But when you go back to that 30, good brothers and sisters, oh man, when you go back to that 30 frames, man, brother, you definitely feel it. And I felt that. It's something about that 60. So again, for people that are interested in this game, I know I'm going to pick it up. Just know that, if you want that 60, 1080p, and if you want that 30 frames per second, 4K, it'll be 30. Anyway, let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the next story. Now, I gotta say, God dog it. This game right here, Black Myth Wukong. Man, this joker has released. And I got this story from Twisted Voxel. But this game has released to unbelievable success. Selling at a whopping 10 million copies worldwide. God, dog. First time out the gate. 10 million copies worldwide since its launch. Now, one thing continues to be a mystery. Where and when is the Xbox version releasing? So according to Extras, or his name is spelled EXTAS, Extaz, it got the number 1 STV. So I'm going to say Extaz First TV, who's an insider, went on Twitter to share. He spoke with some Xbox insiders and developers once again at Gamescom. I mean, Gamescom was fired up this year talking about insiders, talking about secrets and all. But again, he got this information from, well, this alleged information from developers at Gamescom 2024, where he was informed about a technical issue that has impacted the release on Xbox Series X and S. Now, it appears that the game is suffering from a memory leak issue. Yes, it is called a memory leak issue, which can cause significant crashes that could compromise the performance on Xbox consoles. And because of this, the game has not passed Xbox certification, and as a result has been indefinitely delayed. Now, the insider also reported that the game failed certification twice. So Game Science got some work to do when it comes to this. But what I want to do is, I'm not very familiar with what memory leak is. So just to get a full technical understanding of what it is, let's look it up. What is memory leak in gaming? It says, hold on. What is memory leak? It says a memory leak is a computer program error that occurs when a program doesn't release memory that's no longer needed. It says this can happen when a program repeatedly allocates memory, uses it, and then doesn't free it. Memory leaks can also occur when an object is stored in memory but can't be accessed by the program's code. Says memory leaks can be subtle and silent and can slowly eat away at a system's available memory. Oh, darn. So it pretty much deteriorates the memory. It says this can cause the system to slow down over time, and if left unchecked, can eventually lead to a system crash. Man, memory leaks can be a common problem in gaming, where they can affect performance, stability, and user experience. So, yeah, this thing is absolutely real, and it is a serious problem. And if I had to guess who is the culprit for this memory leak, I would have to say it is more than likely the Xbox Series S, because it was something else that came out. Yes, it was a former developer who worked for Rocksteady. His name is Del Walker. He tweeted out, quote, "I wish the Series S never existed. Man, so annoying to optimize for that console. I expect we'll unfortunately see more game launches get skipped by Xbox in the future." End of quote. God, dog. That's
But wait, it gets worse.
Man. That's a lot right there, brothers. We have been hearing this time and time again. So much so this guy said, darn it all, I'm putting it on Twitter so the world can see this. The Xbox Series S is a mistake. This thing is annoying to optimize for. And I'm telling you that doggone Black Myth Wukong, God darn, have you seen the graphics on that mother lover? I am sure the Series S is leaking all over the place. Joker can't remember the left hand movement on the controller. This Joker's getting overheated so bad, leaking all over the place. Memory leak, just left and right. Thing can't keep up with it. Anytime this thing, because we got to be fair here, the PlayStation 5 version of the game is not setting the gaming world on fire when it comes to performance. It's struggling. And they even said, Game Science said that this could take a couple of months until they can actually figure this out. Even on PC, the game is struggling and having stutters. I'm sure not nearly as much as on console. But then you talk about if PlayStation 5 is struggling, just imagine how bad it is for the Series S. That joker is on pause mode permanently when it comes to this. So this is again the guy. His name is Del Walker. It's spelled DEL Walker, former dev of Rocksteady. This guy is saying that this thing is annoying to optimize for. It's hard, and as a result, he feels like more games are going to skip Xbox. You know what? We'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. I guess you guys already see what it is. That's going to be the doggone question of the week. But we're going to move on for the sake of time. So let's get into a story that I actually got from Kotaku. So, Sony. I dug it. It looks like their latest gas game offering ran out of gas before it even got started. The game is, of course, Concord. Now, unlike Helldivers 2, it is looking like an absolute fail because as of August 26th, the game has not reached 1,000 concurrent players on Steam. Now I know we don't really talk about PC too much over here on this podcast, but Sony doesn't publicly share how many people are playing a game. So we have to go off of the Steam numbers. But one metric we can go off of is, as far as the PlayStation goes, to give us an idea of how well this game is selling. One metric is we can go off of is the list of best sellers on PlayStation's official website. So as it stands, the game at the moment, I think it was ranked 37th when I wrote this down, but I think it has slipped even further. Let's see if Google can tell us where the game stands on the chart. Let's see. Where does Concord rank on PlayStation's list? Hold on. I know I said that all wrong. Let's see. Okay. Hold on. No, that's the wrong numbers. I want to try to pull this up. Just bear with me here, guys. We're going to figure this thing out. Let's try one more time. Yeah. Where does Concord rank on PlayStation's official website?
According to Yahoo, but we can look at the list of best sellers on PlayStation's official website to get a sense of what people are buying and not buying. And Concord is currently the 37th best-selling game on PSN.
All right, so it's the same thing Kotaku had reported on, so it still seems. But see, this was 2 days ago. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that this is 100% accurate. So again, put that caveat in there. I think it actually slid to 40-something. But as it stands, 2 days ago, it was ranked at number 37. Again, I can't prove it because I can't get the information. But I'm telling you, I truly believe it is past number 37 when it comes to where it is ranked. Now, again, it just doesn't seem like this game landed. Now, to be fair, there have been some people that have said that the game is actually a good game. It's getting a bad rep. A lot of guys over on the PlayStation side are like, who asked for this? I didn't want this. Where are the single player games? Sony, you need to concentrate and stay in your lane. Give us the single player games. Darn all of this gas stuff. We want the single player games. And as a person who only plays single player games, I couldn't agree with you more who have that sentiment. But at the same time, Sony does have to get some kind of reoccurring money coming in to the ecosystem. Of course, they're on the clock. This year will officially mark them having 9 years left to get Call of Duty on their console. Now, again, the way that Xbox is looking, these jokers are holding on by a doggone thread of needle, paper, doggone paper towel-ism. I don't even know what the frick I'm talking about with that, but that, basically they holding on by an inch. These jokers, it doesn't look like they're going to be around for the long haul, unfortunately. So I don't think Call of Duty is going to go anywhere. I don't think that Microsoft or Xbox is going to ever pull it off of PlayStation, because that is a huge, huge revenue stream when it comes to them selling games. So I don't think they have that to worry about. But at the same time, Sony has to get out there and they have to try to figure out a way that they can get that reoccurring money coming back into their ecosystem. They have to figure it out. Of course, they got one with Helldivers 2. That game was very successful. Of course, it's been a bit of a drop off, a nice drop off, when it comes to that game. They just got some DLC, I believe, released, and they're trying to get that player count back up. But as it stands right now, they're still kind of struggling with that. So again, there are people on the PlayStation side that want this. They want the games as a service. They want Sony to go out there and push themselves to make these games a success. And I have to agree. PlayStation has some of the most talented studios in the gaming industry. You talking about Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and just doggone, what is their name? Golly, Sucker Punch. Just to name 3. Those guys are absolutely amazing at what they do, not to mention Sony Santa Monica. So when you got that level of talent in-house, somebody should be able to come up with a great gas idea. I understand it might be outside of their wheelhouse. We had got reports that a lot of the teams they were not happy about this new direction that Sony was going in when it came to these gas games. That's why they got cut in half. But at the same time, which is good for me, I'm glad and happy about that. But at the same time, you definitely need to try to do things differently to make sure that you can get that reoccurring income coming in to your, into your ecosystem, as it were. And again, I know a lot of people say they don't care about the money. I don't care about the money that Sony makes, Microsoft makes. I only care about the money that they make to a certain point, which is, are you making enough to keep your doors open? If you're making enough to keep your doors open, that's cool. That's all I care about. That is as far as my care for these companies goes, as far as, their money is concerned. Now, Ubisoft and Nintendo, I got a vested interest in those jokers to do well. I actually got a vested interest. I got money tied up in them jokers. So I definitely want them to do well. But hopefully I'll be able to get to the point, get some Sony stock, as well as some Microsoft stock. Maybe one day, but those stock prices on Microsoft, God, dog, brother, got to save up for that. But again, outside of them being able to make enough to keep their doors open, as it stands for me right now, that's all I care about. I'm not in the mindset of the more money they make, the more games they're going to give us, because it just does not seem like that is the case, at least when it comes to Microsoft. Sony, they have shown time and time again, they told the mark. Now, again, some people can say, but Microsoft, they just picked up 2 of the biggest publishers in the world. How can you say that? And I would say, you know what? You are right to a certain degree, because now, as it stands, the way that Phil Spencer is talking, we run a business and it's about a business, which is true. I get that. You got to handle the business part first, because without the business, you're not going to be able to stay open. I get that. But when you tell me that your games are going to the competing platform That makes me feel like you are taking games away. Now, I understand that some people may feel like, but it's still coming on Xbox. It's still going to be in Game Pass, all of that. But in my mind, you need to give people a reason to pick up the console. So yeah, you own these two big publishers. You own all of these games. This slew of games that you have at your disposal, but you are going to be giving them away. Not giving them away. I mean, I'm doing a little too much with that, but you're going to be offering those same games on competing platforms. So again, to me, that takes away the games that you have. I mean, even so much so, I don't know if you guys heard this, but Crash Bandicoot is actually going to be in the upcoming Astro Bot game. He's going to be in there probably as a skin or something like that. Even though Microsoft owns Crash Bandicoot, they own that IP. They are still giving Sony the okay to put that character in one of their games. Just like Microsoft also owns Banjo-Kazooie. They actually let Nintendo take that character and put him into Smash Brothers. So when you see these kind of moves that are happening, you can say to yourself, man, this is just third party. Y'all are just a third party publisher now to a certain degree. I know for some people, they say if Gears of War goes over there, and that's the thing that I find so interesting when it comes to certain Xbox fans. At first, they said if Starfield goes over there, they're going to be upset. They're not going to believe in Xbox, or Indiana Jones or one of these big titles go over there. They're not going to believe in Xbox anymore. They sent over 4 to begin with. And y'all remember during that week before Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty actually had that emergency podcast, it was so many Xbox fans on social media, on YouTube, saying how much they were going to be done with the Xbox brand if that was to happen. If Hi-Fi Rush goes to PlayStation, I'm done. I'm walking away. It's over. They lose me as a customer. Not only did Hi-Fi Rush come over, another 3 came over, and now Indiana Jones is over there. But yet some of these guys, now granted, some did walk. Some did skate off into the sunset and said, I'm done. This ain't what I signed up for. They walked away. But unfortunately, a lot of people stayed and just kept making excuses as to why they were going to stay. Now it's to the point where, now if you get rid of Halo and you get rid of Gears of War and you get rid of Horizon or Forza, then I gotta leave. That's it. That is all she wrote. I gotta leave after that. I call bluff. And I guarantee you, Microsoft is gonna call you bluff. Xbox is gonna call you bluff. They're gonna say, oh yeah, that's what you said. You gonna leave me, huh? Oh, you gonna step away from me? Are you gonna leave me? If I put my game over there, if I put these tadpole franchises over on PlayStation, you're going to leave me? I'm going to try your hand. Bam, here we go. Doggone Gears of War over there on PlayStation. What you going to do? It's your move. Man, I'm telling you, God, dog, Gears of War go over there and E-Day and all of that stuff. I mean, that's what ifs and things of that nature. But that's the reason why I just don't feel like they're giving their player base the games that they deserve. I mean, good grief, you got this whole slew of games and you're just giving them away to the competition. What is the incentive of somebody picking up your platform, your console, if you know that possibly 3-4 months later, it's a rumor out there right now that's going on that actually says that Indiana Jones is going to possibly land on PlayStation 5 like April 21st, somewhere around there. We all know it's spring, so it's not like it's a far-fetched idea. We can all get a idea of, when it could land, but they're saying April 21st. Who knows if that's going to happen or not, but that is the rumor that is actually going on right now. But anyway, we'll see what happens with PlayStation and their gas situation, if they'll continue moving in that direction and keep on releasing these games to try to catch fire, catch thunder in lightning in a bottle again, as it were. They already did it one time, with Helldivers 2. Of course, again, they got to build that count back up. But once they do that, hopefully they'll go back out there and try again. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's move on into the next story. I don't know. Did you guys hear that phone ring? Hear my phone ringing in the background? Dog, I had to take that call, brother. Unprofessional Productions. Anyway, let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's move on in to the next story that I actually got from VGC. So in more news and a now deleted store page on the PlayStation Store website, Lego Horizon Adventures had a listed release date of November 14th. Now take this, as I always say, with a mustard seed of truth, because PlayStation has not officially come out to tell us the actual release date. Also, when, I wrote myself a note saying that I wrote this before the Nintendo Direct had happened. I thought maybe we would have gotten a release date there. I believe they said it's going to release in the winter of this year. So November would actually fall in line if we're talking about the winter. Again, it's November 14th, allegedly. That's when it's going to release, but only time will tell. This is a game that I will say I wasn't originally interested in this game at all, not even remotely interested in it. And I'm still, I'm not really interested in it, not at all. I don't think this is a game that I'm going to be picking up. I'm not a big Legos fan, but I know that there are surprisingly a lot of people that actually enjoy the Lego games. And some people said that this game looked very good to them. It looked pretty. It looked great. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't really get that aesthetic, my brother. It doesn't really look that great. When I'm thinking about Horizon, I'm all tongue tied. When I'm thinking about Horizon, I'm thinking about Horizon Forbidden West, even Horizon Zero Dawn. That does not look anything remotely like that Lego game. And granted, we understand it's Lego. That's why it has to look that way. But to me, Ed, that ain't graphically impressive. You get back to me when you play Horizon Forbidden West. Oh my gosh. Game is still one of the most beautiful games of this generation. I'm telling you. Black Myth Wukong, no, I heard. Of course, I haven't played the game. I have looked at very, very limited amounts of video on the game because I do plan on picking it up eventually. But I have heard that Black Myth Wukong is that game when it comes to the graphics, saying that game is actually on par with Horizon Forbidden West. Some even saying that it looks better. I said, I don't know about all that. Equally, maybe, but better, I don't know. But that's that Unreal Engine 5 going to work on them jokers. That engine is something amazing as it stands right now. But we will see what happens with this Horizon situation, this Legos thing. We'll see if it comes out on November 14th or not. Let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into some quick news that I actually got from Gematsu.com. So Foam Stars will be going free to play starting October 4th. Now, Foam Stars, if you weren't available, it is available for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I remember this game. Yeah, people wasn't really checking for this, brothers.
Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis.
Man, I got to tell you, this game right here, when it was launched, some people thought it was going to be like Splatoon to a certain degree. Man, some people that are familiar with Splatoon said it plays nothing like Splatoon. And again, here it is, Sony, they're trying their hand, even though they did not develop the game. This was Square Enix that developed this game, but it was exclusive to the PlayStation brand. Again, they're trying with this gas games as a service situation yet again, and that's another fail. So, it probably for the best, for the health of the game, this is probably a good strategy to actually have this game go free to play on October 4th. And maybe, just maybe, the player count will go up a little bit more. Let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So I want to say, shout out, man, God doggone, shout out to the Iron Lords, man. The Iron Lords podcast. I rock with those guys. The Iron Lords podcast made it into the news cycle. I believe it was the good brother Cog that actually asked this question. So they they asked, and I only laughed right there because I had to stall for time so I could find my notes right there. But it seems like they asked the developer of Avowed, actually the art director of the game, Matt Hansen, and production director Ryan Warden. I believe it was Cog that asked the question about this 30 frames per second situation. What frame rate would the game be running at? And they went into detail about the game and said, quote, "We are targeting 30 frames per second bare minimum. That's the expectation. It's a first-person single-player game. You don't necessarily need that 60 frames per second."
Fool this man!
Oh, man, it's 2024. This brother said you don't necessarily need that 60 frames. And that allows us to get a lot juicier with with VFX and lighting and all this other stuff. It's a trade-off we opted to make relatively early, and we're really happy with that. The game's running pretty smooth for how visually dense it is, and that was always our goal. End of quote. Now, this is the thing. Wow, we day. Again, I don't want to say that I'm a 60 frames per second snob out here. But we are in 2024, and PlayStation, oh man, bless their gaming hearts. PlayStation does give you the option to run the game at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. Now, granted, just because he said that they're targeting this 30 frames per second and you don't need the 60 frames, I mean, it's just bad wording. But that's not to say, because I mean, God dog, people melted down when they heard this. What? Again, Xbox, you can't get it right. It's like, yeah, I understand, man. You hear 30 frames per second. It triggers some people. It does. I mean, I can't lie. It kind of triggers me a little bit in 2024 that we can't have the option to turn off all of that fly stuff that this brother's talking about. Ryan Warden and Matt Hansen. I mean, look, give me the option to turn them VFX off and let me run the game at 60 frames per second, 1080p or 1440p. Let me get the option. Metal Gear Solid Delta me when it comes to this kind of situation. But again, it's not to say that they're not working on a 60 frames per second mode, because we've seen this already when it comes to Starfield. Of course, doggone Todd Howard, he came out there with his leather bomber brown jacket on and said, yeah, this is what we're deciding to do. 30 frames per second. This is where we want to be. Yeah, this game is optimized for 30. That's where we're going to stay. Of course, we know a year later they've done quite a few things to update that game and put it in a better place. One of those being you got vehicles now. Well, you have a vehicle from my understanding now. And more importantly, they did make the game. Todd Howard and his team did make it 60 frames per second. Now, it took a while. They had to put it back in the oven, let it cook, but they did bring it out to 60 frames. Now, again, this is a bit of the problem that I have with Xbox. This seems to continue to be a pattern. You release these games half cooked, half cocked, half done, and you just want to work on them for a year or so to get them to where they need to be. This isn't the way. But again, these same games are available in Game Pass. And it's things like this that make me wonder, is Game Pass doing more harm to the Xbox brand than good? Of course, I mean, Phil Spencer, they need that money back, that 69 or 70 billion that they borrowed, and they're making all kind of crazy moves, not for the betterment of the console, but that to the side, talking about Game Pass and them actually releasing games that they know are half done in the state that they're in. And the excuse is, and this is where some Xbox gamers come in and say, well, it's in Game Pass. What did you expect? It's like, but that is hurting the game. I mean, who wants to play a game that's half finished, that's half cooked? You know, and I think that this is a byproduct of the Game Pass, service. They feel like, look, you're giving me $20 a month. This is what you get. Whereas if it was a $70, and of course you can buy these games. I don't want it to be a false narrative where you can't buy these games. You can buy them for full price, $70. But who the world is going to pay that for a game that's coming out in the state that some of these Xbox games have come out in as of recently, as of late? Redfall, anybody? I mean, doggone, the last Forza Horizon, or was it Motorsport? That came out half cooked. I mean, this is really a pattern. Sea of Thieves, I mean, you got to go back years, but that came out half done. And this thing continues to go on and on and on. So, again, people that are looking forward to Avowed, I've heard from, listening to the Iron Lords podcast, they had got hands-on with it, said that it played great, said that it was in a good state. And a couple of other people said the same thing, where they said that once they picked up the controller, they understood and they got it. So I'm sure that the game is running well at 30 frames per second. But in 2024, with the competition, PlayStation, where some may say that PlayStation isn't even competition anymore because they're giving them, well, not giving them, but they're putting their games, their first party games on their platform just a couple of months later. And for some day and date, Doom, the newest Doom that'll be releasing, that's day and date. Some people may say that they're not really competition. They're just another platform for Xbox to put their games on, So, but when you have a platform that is offering that, you would think that you would want to do the same for your core gamer fans. But yet, this is the part where I feel like the disrespect continues to come in and people don't necessarily say anything. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm starting to get long in the tooth with this. So I'm going to move on into the next story. But again, who's to say maybe later on down the road, a year later, when most people don't care, maybe it'll get this 60 frames per second patch. But they do have until February, so maybe they're working on it right now, but we'll see. But let's get into the next story, and I actually got this story as well from Gematsu.com. So Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. It launches digitally on PlayStation 4, the Nintendo Switch, and PC on September 12th. But physical copies for Switch and PlayStation 4 will be sold on November 22nd. So if you want that physical copy like myself, you'll definitely want to wait till November 22nd. Now, if you pre-order the physical copy, you will get an exclusive 32-page comic featuring characters and superheroes from the various titles in the collection. Yet again, we went over it earlier. This is another game that is skipping Xbox, unfortunately, probably for the same reason that Volume 2 is going to be skipping it, because they don't have the Xbox One code or whatever the case may be in order to make that happen. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the final story of the week, and I actually got this from Comic Book. So in a rumor, Konami, this is the rumor, Konami is working on a Metal Gear Solid 4 remake. Now, Konami producer, boy, here we go. I was doing so well with names. His name is Noriyaki. It's spelled Noriaki. Noriyaki Okamura. He responded to the potential of a Metal Gear Solid 4 game appearing on modern hardware, where he said he couldn't confirm anything, but heavily implied that fans can, quote, connect the dots, end of quote, when it comes to what would appear in a potential Master Collection Volume 2. So, Metal Gear Solid 4 remake. Who would actually want that game? I'm curious to know. I played Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PlayStation 3. I thought it was good. I thought it was, Kojima and these stories, brother. But wait, it gets worse. This guy's storytelling is all over the place. I couldn't follow it. A Solid Snake was in a wheelchair at the veteran. Oh shoot, I might be doggone spoiling the game. Oh shucks. Oh, pardon me. But yeah, it just didn't it didn't resonate with me. It was more cutscenes than it was gameplay. I remember I was playing that game for hours, and I was looking at all of the cutscenes. It was amazing at the time, but some kind of way my save got erased and I had to start all over again. And when I skipped all of the cutscenes, I was able to get back to where I left off at in like 2 hours. That's how many cutscenes and how long they were. I've been playing that game. It was light outside. I finished and my doggone save got corrupted. It was dark outside. I said, God darn, this is going to be a long way getting back. So since I had already seen all of the cutscenes, hitting that skip button, man, like I said, I was like, darn, I'm right back to where I left off at in no time. So that's, to me, I know that some people may want this. I played it already. It was cool. I wouldn't really be looking forward to it, but that's just me. How many of y'all would actually pick up a Metal Gear Solid 4 remake? I mean, maybe my mind is playing tricks on me, but it seems like that game still would hold up today. Maybe I'm wrong, but who knows? But anyway, we'll see if that does end up happening in the future. But anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week. Going 21 gun salute. Shucks. Whole lot went on this week, man. We will see what happens next week. But anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's get into the final section of the podcast. And that is, of course, the question of the week. Video game theater, golly, I'm still working on that. Doesn't take long, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. And by the way, before we get into the question of the week, you know what? Let's just get into it. You guys saw it already. You guys have already heard my thoughts as the podcast has gone on, but let's go over it officially. So, will more games skip Xbox? I mean, god darn it. I would have to say that based off of what is going on today, at this moment in time, yeah, I just don't see, I don't see a lot of developers continuing to develop for the Xbox brand. I mean, I feel like they're looking at the Xbox brand and they're getting the heck out of there. They're moving on. Jokers are boogieing down the road. Like, why do we need you? Wukong. Think about this. Black Myth Wukong. Say what you want on how many people picked it up on PC versus how many people picked it up on PlayStation 5. Besides all of that, that game sold 10 million copies without any help from the Xbox brand. Zero help. Doggone Capcom is out here making games for the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch and just skipping Xbox. Now, granted, again, according to Reddit, they said that they lost the source code or don't have the code for the Xbox One version, which is wild to me. I'm like, God, dog. So that alone says they ain't give a darn about the doggone Xbox version. The way it sold on the Xbox One, they was like, this is so terrible, man. Just get rid of the code. It ain't even worth having. I mean, that's what it seems like. You know, I'm not saying that's the case, but darn, you lose all of the source code for the Xbox One version. God, dog, that's wild. And I understand things happen, but man, anyway, it just seems like a trend. And it seems like it's not going to get better. Again, Black Myth Wukong, we understand the problems that it's having, the memory leakage, things of that nature. We heard from the developer saying that the Xbox Series S is a pain. And I think that it's I think it's going to have to come down to a point where Xbox just has to do right by their customers. I understand the numbers seem like it's more Series S's that have sold than the Series X. But if you are going to do right by your customers, not everybody bought a Series S. There are quite a few people that bought the X as well, and they spent $200 more extra dollars to get that. You got to do right by your fan base. These guys went out there, they spent the money, they lost out on Baldur's Gate. What was it, Baldur's Gate 3? That wasn't day and date. Wukong now was in day and date. Doggone the Capcom collections aren't even coming. They ain't even coming to the platform. So again, it just seems like a pattern. No matter how it's happening, no matter why it's happening, it's happening. It's like your favorite sports team losing. I mean, the Orioles, I've been watching them. I haven't watched baseball in so long. But when they start getting into a losing streak, I'm like, God, dog, I understand some people may be hurt. Things might not be up to snuff. Or with the Ravens, you know, somebody might be out for the game, a key player. But it's like, but you got to find a way to win. That's the thing with Xbox. I understand that the Series S is a hindrance, but you got to find a way to get these W's up under your belt because you're getting a lot of L's right now. So got to figure it out. But anyway, that is the question. Will more games skip Xbox? If you do want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in. Man, matter of fact, I don't even know if you want to call that number. No, don't call in. If you want to be a part of it, actually email the show. And the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. I want to let you guys know something. I think that for the foreseeable future, I mean, this is what it's looking like. You guys know I've been recording on Wednesday the last, maybe like the last 2 weeks or so. I think I might have to make this at least a semi-permanent thing for the time being, because it seems like Sunday is just not quite working out for me at this moment in time. So we're probably going to be moving to Wednesday semi-permanently. So just expect for the show to happen on Wednesday from here on out until things kind of shift back to where I would be able to record on Sunday. But you know what I am going to do though, I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but if you do want to call into the show, you can also call and leave a voicemail. I'll be happy to play it on the podcast. The next listener feedback, you can do that by calling in at 443-294-7853. Oh man, shout out to you, Cody Clark. God dog, man. I forgot about your email. I forgot, but I will definitely, man, hold on. I can't do my guy Cody like that. Hold up. Let me pull this up because I got to make it right with my brother. Okay. So I guess we on bonus time right now. Okay. The title of Cody's email is The Last of Us Online's cancellation, yada, yada, yada. He said, didn't even know some of this stuff. I know that there is a lot of bad blood with fans, ATM, but as I no longer support any Sony project, this kind of washes up against me. And I was like, what did I just read? Well, let's see what happened here. Now, it looks like you got this from Games Radar. It says The Last of Us Online's cancellation reportedly landed some Sony devs in hot water. There were some heads rolling as a result of that one. Get out of here. It says that getting canceled was not a bloodless affair. It says the cancellation of The Last of Us Online was reportedly not a bloodless affair. A quote, bloodless, end of quote, affair with punishments reportedly handed out at Sony. Appearing on the Friends Per Second podcast, Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier discussed the recent Bungie layoffs and expressed his personal concerns around the studio's next project, extraction shooter Marathon, as well as the fact that, quote, the sentiment I've heard is not great around it, end of quote. Yeah, I have heard. Now that is something. Marathon, again, from Bungie, a company that Sony picked up. They seem like they really got over on Sony. They pulled a fast one on them because they have not been performing. But with this Marathon game, I've heard it has been nothing but negative reports about this game. And this is their next game that's supposed to be coming up. Of course, it was a rumor, I didn't write it down, where somebody is working with Bungie to make a sci-fi game, another one, but that's in the rumorville. Yeah, that's in Rumorville. God dog it. We'll see what happens with that. But come on, Cody. I'm gonna finish this up, brother. Let me see. From there, the topic turned to Sony's live service push, which saw the company announce that it had a dozen such projects in the works. Yeah, they had actually canceled those. It says that's a strategy that Schreier denounced as, quote, trend chasing to the extreme, end of quote, decrying the, quote, very, very long, end of quote, list of games that were, quote, pivots from single player studios. Yeah, I was actually talking about that earlier, where the studios were not actually very, very happy about that being the focus, Cody. Now it says, quote, Naughty Dog's Factions game was in development for something like 4 years with a team in the hundreds, end of quote, Schreier says, referring to the game by the name of its predecessor's multiplayer mode. Quote, that is an expensive proposition for something that was a miss, and that project that getting canceled was not a bloodless endeavor. I keep hearing this bloodless endeavor, Cody. God damn, somebody got this snot box rocked. It says there were some heads rolling at Sony as a result of that one. Yeah, it just seems like I'm trying to get to the meat and potatoes. I'm almost there. Let me see. It says whose head that was on the block, that isn't clear. Naughty Dog, the studio said that it made the decision to cancel the game to avoid becoming a live service studio, beholding to that project's continuing upkeep rather than the single player games it's best known for. Yeah, I think that was for the best, Cody. When you think about that situation, again, I talked about it a little earlier, and shout out to you, Cody, for this, man. Shout out to you. I keep on hitting the wrong button, but shout out to you, Cody, for this article. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, if it had to be one or the other, Cody, I would definitely say, look, man, I'm glad Naughty Dog dropped that. They got out of that situation and they said, look, we gotta move on. We can't do this, so shout out to them for that. And, yeah, I think that Sony is better for it. I think they're much better for that. But Cody, yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up, man. But thank you for the email, Cody. Make sure you're right on in again anytime, good brother. It's always great to hear from you. But with that being said, guys, now we will officially wrap up the podcast. But before we get on out there, tie this thing up and wrap a bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles, and man, the console options are getting a little shorter out here, as it were, to a certain degree. But remember again, it is not about the consoles. It is about the game. So until next Wednesday, when we do it again, until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.